On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, the NBA playoffs are officially underway, and I have the brightest basketball mind I know joining me on the show today to talk about all the action from the weekend. I will be talking with myself. A handful of takeaways from opening weekend. Number one, the ban charges movement that I was on almost a decade ago. I don't have a big enough ego quite yet, give it time, to say that I was the man who started this movement. But I was one of the early voices. I have the receipts. You can go back and look. I was writing articles, many lifetime. I've had like 7 iterations of different shows, of different career paths, everything else since I wrote an article saying, get charges out of basketball. They're disgusting. I hate them. And now all of a sudden, would you look at that? The basketball discourse has all caught up to me. And they're all talking about shit I was talking about like a decade ago. But I'm going to talk about it today on the show, even though I've already talked about it. I've been talking about this since I couldn't grow facial hair. And now here we are. I'm still talking about it. But Giannis and Ja Morant both get hurt in game 1. In Giannis's case, it was a block on Kevin Love. And it seems like he's going to be back. He'll be fine. But the Bucks did lose, and suddenly that series is a lot more interesting than it has any right being. Ja Morant is probably, I am no doctor. I was declared pre-med at Ohio State for 1 quarter exactly. That's as close as I came to obtaining a medical degree. But a man landing on his wrist backwards on his shooting hand, I don't think that's good. And I'm going to go ahead and say Ja Morant is probably out for these playoffs. So anyway, in that case, it was a charge on Morant, and Anthony Davis took a good charge on him. But I think people were losing their minds for 2 reasons. 1, Ja Morant is going to be out. But 2, why the hell is Anthony Davis, who's supposed to theoretically be... Anthony Davis is one of the greatest shot blockers in the history of college basketball, and this man has a point guard attacking him downhill, and he doesn't try to block the shot. He just grabs his nuts and fall over. Anyway, the charge discussion is raging throughout mainstream NBA discourse, and I'm going to add to it. Also, as I was watching the playoffs this weekend, Villanova and Kentucky guys were everywhere, so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about really, speaking of old takes of mine, let's revisit an old take I had many moons ago that Mikal Bridges was actually better than Jalen Brunson at Villanova. And every time Jalen Brunson plays well in the NBA, I have people trying to dunk on me that I said Jalen Brunson wasn't the best player on his team, which I'll admit has not aged great, except for the fact that Mikal Bridges is also freaking awesome. So I think as more time has passed, we look back on that 2018 Villanova team as maybe being an all-time college basketball team, whatever. I was watching the playoffs, and I noticed like every time I turned on my TV, it felt like it was every team is peppered with Villanova and Kentucky guys. So I thought that would be fun to kind of go through and talk about that. The Showtime Lakers are back. This time they're led by Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura. So we have to talk about this. The Lakers suddenly... whatever questions I had about the Lakers, not to overreact from 1 game, but my questions were answered. I've seen enough. The Lakers are winning the title. There you go. That's it. Is Russell Westbrook good? That's another fun discussion we could have. 3 for 19, but the greatest 3 for 19 game anyone has ever seen. I'm not ready to bust out the fraud power rankings quite yet. I think I might save that for Thursday, but it's time. Watching the start of the NBA playoffs, the fraud juices get flowing. There's nothing more fun about the NBA playoffs than calling guys frauds, and I have the itch for it. So I'm going to probably do that Thursday, though, because there's way too much to talk about right now. Also, I want to talk about the Chinese. I don't know, TJ, if you saw this. There was a scandal in the Chinese Basketball Association, I think it's called, the CBA.
Shanghai Sharks.
The Shanghai Sharks, the Jiangsu Dragons, is that how you say it? I don't know the cities in China other than Shanghai, basically. But yeah, the point shaving, the match fixing, whatever it was. I have I have a controversial stance on this that I think I want to touch on. So we'll talk about that. Maybe do an NHL preview, NHL playoff preview. Probably not, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe. You have to listen to the whole show to see. Probably not, but maybe. We'll see. I don't know. All that coming up. Let's rock. Let's do it. All right, I am back from Chicago with great news. I have found a place to live. It was a successful trip, TJ. I was gone for basically the second we got off air from last show until right now. I was basically in Chicago doing my best to follow all the playoffs. But number one, great thing about Chicago, sports town. Los Angeles, not a sports town. Los Angeles, if I'm away from my house and the playoffs are going on, I'm fucked and I can't watch the playoffs, and I stress out and I have to pull out my phone and set it up at a table because I'm, out on a double date at a inconvenient time, and it's annoying as shit, and I'm trying to ignore the conversation because I'm trying to watch some playoff basketball here in LA. Chicago, you don't have that problem. You can ignore everyone in front of you by looking at the TVs that are on. So that was exciting. But I have great news. I have found a place to live. I was really worried because, as I said last show, I have the exact same realtors as Brandon. Brandon famously talks way too much about his house hunting and has let everyone know that he actually texted me right before the show and said he found a place, by the way.
Nice.
He said he's good. So I was ready to really gloat.
I'm sure he'll leak the address of it on the Yak on Wednesday, and it'll get swept out from under him somehow. He's the greatest in the world at revealing where he is.
I'm not spoiling anything because he's talked about this a million times. But he sent me his address, and holy hell, it is far from Chicago. It is. The man was not kidding. He's like, I found my house. The offer got accepted. We're good. And I was like, where? Send me the house. And he sent me it, and my jaw literally dropped. I was sitting on the couch just like, holy fuck. I had to like zoom out to like even get Chicago into the map. Yeah. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun to see Brandon be late to work every day when we're at the new office. But yeah, I'm excited. I found a place. I was ready to gloat about Brandon struggling, and then just say that like I have the exact same realtors, and I'm looking at the exact same, in the exact same city or thereabouts, and I pop in, pop out, and it works for me. But then Brandon found a place, so it's not as impactful as I was hoping for. But yeah, the realtors were great though. They were great people. I feel like, was he talking bad about them on the show?
I think he was just frustrated.
He was just frustrated by the whole process.
Yeah.
They
an easily flustered guy. If you haven't gauged that so far,
they personally thanked me like a handful of times and said, I think their quote was, "It's nice to work with someone who actually has money and taste." I think is what they said to me.
Definitely.
So that was. So maybe we had two different experiences because of that. But dude, I'm so fired up to move to Chicago. The summer vibes where I was there for like the 2 warm days they've had since last summer, basically. And the place was the summer vibes were off the charts. It was a fall summer, as we say in the Midwest, where you get a little taste of summer and you get excited and you start planting your flowers and you're like, oh my God, the good weather's here. But then in the snap of a finger, the cold weather's back and it kills everything. But I was there for the good weather, and the beach was popping. The parks were popping, TJ. You're gonna freaking love it. We're gonna love it. We're gonna have a great time. So I also found a place, not to brag, 3 fireplaces. So there's that. There's a dive bar around the corner. What?
I'm trying to do the math on where 3 fireplaces would go in one house.
I think there might be 4 because I think there might be an outdoor one. I was blown. I think that's why I wanted this place so badly. I walked in. I was like, oh my God. I don't even remember the rest of the house. I was just counting up the fireplaces. Like, there's one in the entryway. There's one in the living room. There's one in the basement. And then I think there might be one outside on the patio. Like an actual fireplace, like build it. I was like, this is class.
That's a different type of flexing. Yeah. How many fireplaces do you have?
3, maybe 4 fireplaces. There's also a little basketball court on the roof of the garage of this place. There's a dive bar right around the corner that I fell in love with. I don't know. I'm feeling good, man. Vibes are good, and I'm excited to get to Chicago. I did want to say though, that I wanted to put the word out, spread the word across the city of Chicago that I am officially trying to declare my intentions to get on the lake, basically, TJ. I was there when the weather was good. The beach was awesome. I did not go out on the water, but I need to figure out how to infiltrate. So when I lived in LA, my biggest I still live here, but for a couple more months, my biggest goal was to break into the Manhattan Beach social scene. I had varying success, like Russillo lives down there, but Russillo's bogarting the clout for himself. He's not exactly like inviting me to all the places all the time. And so it wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be. I was trying to mix it up with, like the LA Kings players that live down there. A lot of celebs are, down in Manhattan Beach, and I was trying to rub elbows with them. I did an okay job. But I'm ultimately not super proud of my effort. And I think what I want to do when I get to Chicago is I want to make a concentrated effort to get into the boating and the yachting scene there. I got to get out on the lake. I got to figure out what yacht club to join. I don't want anything too like high class because I want like guys that know how to have fun, but also I don't want like trash around me. You know what I mean?
Right. Like a middle class yacht club.
A middle class yacht club. Yeah. I don't want the guys that are like opening beer cans with their teeth. And their yachts and their quote unquote yachts are all pontoon boats. But I also don't want like to have to show my tax returns to get into the yacht club.
This is like the most first world problems conversation I've ever heard. Looking for a mid-range yacht club.
Mid-range yacht club, dude. So that's that. Yeah. No, I do want to go sailing. That's what I was excited when I was in Chicago. I was like, I could get out on the lake and learn how to sail. So I mean, I already know how to sail, but I want to sail on the lake. So anyway, that's where my head's at. So if anyone can help it, anybody listening, yeah, I want to balance like, yeah, it is tough. That is gonna be tough for me, TJ. Is like rubbing it in Brandon's face that I'm more successful and better than him, but at the same time trying to be relatable to my audience.
Yeah.
That's a tough line to walk, huh? I just realized that.
The great conflict of life.
Interesting. But yeah, I'm fired up. Can't wait to get there. And I drove by the office. It's gonna be cool. There's a sick breakfast place right by the office that we'll be going to all the time. So we'll be hitting that place up. Anyway, NBA playoffs. I wrote down, how many did I write down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 takeaways, TJ. From game 1, overreactions. If we can say that. Number 1, the first thing that stood out to me from the NBA playoffs this weekend is that the NBA audience is not the Dr. Pimple Popper audience. That was very clear to me that there is apparently an audience for this shit.
Yeah. It
is not basketball fans. There was not a single person that was like, thank you for these commercials. So I think I just found my new favorite show. Where do you stand on this? Do you have, because that's what like all the basketball people I know are now reeling, trying to figure out who the hell watches this, and we've yet to come up with a single do you know anybody in your life that watches this show or a show like this that is interested in this sort of thing? Are you interested in this?
I'm not, but I do. It's an empire. Like, you would be stunned. There, Dr. Pimple Popper, that one woman, I believe has 4 or 5 different TV shows.
What?
And then there's web series and social series. She is a single empire. Like, the pimple popping community is maybe silent but gigantic. I think it's a lot on the young side and a lot on like the housewife side. But they do numbies, the pimple popping.
What is it? Is it just like is there some sort of just, I don't understand the fact. I mean, is it like you're popping bubble wrap? Is it like that whatever yeah. Like mechanism in your brain, like when you get a piece of bubble wrap, you want to just pop every single one of them?
I think it's kind of like a sensory stimulation thing, but to that, like, they sell toys online for pimple popping, like fidgets. You've never experienced it. It's a massive like it's an empire.
Okay, so. The other thing that stood out to me, first of all, like, this is disgusting. Yeah. I think I vaguely knew that people were in. I never knew that there would be a show about this, or that. But I vaguely have a memory of there being like a YouTube page once upon a time. But I felt like that died out when people realized there's only like 4 people in the world that care about this shit. But apparently there are way more than 4 people. The second thing that stood out to me, TJ, was the show is called Dr. Pimple Popper. And the commercial we see is a guy with a freaking watermelon attached to his head that he's getting like a buzzsaw out. They're getting and they're like blurring it because it's so. And I guess my thought is like, can we save that for the season finale? Like, can we build to this? Are you going to like help the viewer along the way to like get to a point where you're ready to see a guy get a guy who's like not even knocked out, he's alive and blinking and talking, and like they're carving into his head to remove a cyst or whatever the hell is stuck on his head. That was wild. And I guess like I I don't understand why they were showing these commercials during the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, I don't.
That was the most confusing thing to me, is because I don't. There wasn't it felt like something that like maybe there was going to be a debate amongst basketball people, where like some basketball people were like, "Damn, this is disgusting. Get this off my screen." And then there was this tiny contingent of people that are like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Don't you dare talk shit about Dr. Pimple Popper. That woman is royalty in our family." And like somehow there'd be a fight. There was no fight, TJ. It was just like, en masse, everybody was saying, "What the hell is this? And why is this on my television?"
I would imagine the Venn diagram of like socially active NBA fans and Dr. Pimple Popper fans are probably two very far apart circles. But like I said, Dr. Pimple Popper's been on the air for 9 seasons.
What? The TV show?
Yeah, and then she has a million subscribers on YouTube, over 1 million.
What?
Dr. Pimple Popper before the pop since 2020. Dr. Pimple Pop Shark Week since 2021. The 12 Pops of Christmas since 2018. Pop Goes the Vet since 2021. Save My Skin when skin goes wrong. These are other pimple show. Like the pimple popping media community
empire
is vast.
Is there someone currently enrolled in a medical school somewhere that is purposely trying to be the next great pimple popper? Like this is their dream, is that they want to holy hell
take over the pimple popping.
Like all their classmates are like, I am motivated because my mother died from cancer and I am dedicated my life to trying to find a cure to cancer. And then the guy's just like, I just want to pop some fucking pimples, dude. Like I love Dr. Pimple Popper, and that's
the watermelon on the footsteps. Head. They somehow have a guy with that every episode. It's a guy with a baseball on his neck or a huge blackhead on the top of his head that looks like a second person. Like,
stay woke. These people are all plants. Yeah, that these aren't actually
movie grade prosthetics.
Yeah, these are prosthetics, and they're just cutting into prosthetics. And I say this having not watched a single second of the show and only watched these commercials. But yeah, that was crazy to me, is that there's a huge misfire on the audience. This was not met with any sort of not even one sliver of the NBA audience was like, this is pretty cool, I'll check this out. It was just like, my God, this is disgusting, get this out of my face. That seems to be one of the big discussion points coming out of the weekend, honestly. It was the pimple. I saw it was literally trending on Twitter. People were talking about these commercials, these Dr. Pimple Popper commercials. Tired of being soft when you should be hard? 40% of men suffer from hormonal imbalances and low testosterone, and no one is willing to talk about it. The average male testosterone level has decreased by 26% over the past 3 decades. The situation is that you have a bunch of guys that are depressed, they don't have energy, they can't focus, they're gaining weight faster, their libido is gone. Elevated by Astroflav is an all-natural testosterone booster containing 2 powerful ingredients, Fedoja agrestis and Tonkat Ali. This combination Elevated has shown results of 250-point increase in total testosterone, but can be anywhere between 200 to 400-point increase. Increased testosterone levels means increases in energy, improvements in libido, reduction in stress levels while building muscle and burning fat. Elevated by Astroflav has over 500,000 bottles sold to men with amazing results. Get a free 2-week trial of Elevated available at astroflav.com/barstool. Just pay shipping. The other thing, though, as far as the basketball is concerned, I think the big story coming out of the weekend is the ban charges stuff, which I wrote. I just looked it up as we were talking here, TJ. I wrote this in October of 2016. I wrote an article on theringer.com talking about how charges must go. I think for the most part, I don't know. I'd have to. It definitely wasn't something that people agreed with at the time. But there was more. There were more people on board when I wrote that article than I thought. There were more people that were like, this actually makes a lot of sense, and I see where your head's at, and I'm with you. It wasn't like I was on an island at the time. But the sentiment has seemed to shift. Now there's still a large contingent of people that are pro charges, that love charges, that like I guess they love seeing dudes grab nuts. This is something that gets them excited when they want to watch basketball. They're turning on their television and they turn to their wife and they say, "Honey, if we're lucky tonight, we'll see 3 men grab their own testicles and fall over. Hopefully 4." I got it on the Barstool Sportsbook over 3.5, and I'm hoping to get four guys grabbing their nuts and falling over. Let's tune in and find out. There are a lot of sickos in this world that like that. Most of them are Celtics fans because when you have Marcus Smart and Grant Williams on your team, and you have an empire that was built by dead spots on the Boston Garden parquet floor, and Red Auerbach cheating his balls off to win NBA titles. And this is the DNA of your franchise as the Boston Celtics. This is what the Boston Celtics stand for, obviously. Naturally, we look up in 2023, and there are a lot of Celtics people that are like, I get rock hard for charges. This is what gets my juices flowing. The rest of the sane basketball world has seemed to come around on this. And it wasn't just this weekend. For me, this is what I want to point out, that like I've been on this for 10 years. So this has nothing to do with Giannis, nothing to do with Ja Morant, who Ja Morant does play absolutely out of control more often than not. Absolutely, the second this man got into the NBA, everyone was pointing at him saying, really dynamic, really explosive. There's probably a shelf life on how long he's going to be able to play in this way. And so when instances like this happen, no part of you wants to see a guy bend his wrist back and, especially a shooting hand, because I think if it wasn't a shooting hand, there's a chance we might see him back in these playoffs. But I don't know. I don't know how the hell you land on your right wrist like that, bent backwards and come back. But I don't know what kind of drugs they got in NBA locker rooms these days, so maybe they shoot him up with something and he'll be fine, but I doubt it. Anyway, whatever part of you that wants to say, like, we saw this coming with Ja, yada, yada, you still don't want to see, you still hate to see it. It's still disgusting and it sucks. And now you're looking at a series with the Lakers and Grizzlies where, like, it's one game, we don't want to overreact, but the Lakers look damn good, and now Ja Morant's probably out. And I know the Grizzlies have played, to their credit, they do play fine and without Ja Morant. I don't think they need Ja Morant to be great, but certainly at this point you're probably saying the Lakers are favored to win this series. So now, coming out of this weekend, everybody's talking about the ban charges movement, because you have these plays with Ja Morant, Giannis, they're hurt and they get hurt. As I said at the top, Giannis I think will probably come back. Ja Morant, I don't see it happening, but who knows? Maybe he will. Point is, people are now arguing about this, and they're saying we got to get rid of charges. And this is something that I was sort of prepared to come into the show today, TJ. You got it in my head about the TikTok numbies I was doing with the draft situation, the cancel the draft thing. And I was fired up this morning because I was thinking I'm going to do my ban charges rant on the show, and we'll kill it on TikTok again. But then I've been paying attention today, and it feels like this is sort of like a mainstream thought now. Like, suddenly this isn't that controversial. I don't think this would do numbers on TikTok to be yelling that we need to get rid of charges in basketball. I think people would nod along and be, this isn't outrageous enough for people. I don't think.
You have to find like the next side of the coin there. Like, yes, obviously ban charges, but also ban dribbling inside the key.
No dribbling inside the paint. Or
limit that seconds rule to 0 seconds. You can't even enter the paint with the ball.
Yeah, and you should also get an extra step for travel. You should get a gather step plus 3.5 steps.
You can dribble, stop, take 2 steps, and then dribble again, and then take 2 more steps.
It's like on volleyball, like in volleyball, where you got the libero that wears a different color jersey. One guy on every basketball team gets to wear a different color jersey, and that guy does not have to dribble. He gets to run around or
he's the only one that can double dribble. But if he triple dribbles, it's 2 shots.
It's 2 shots, and then someone on this team also has to get ejected.
Yes.
Anyway, I was thinking like this was going to be controversial. I'm happy to see it's not, because I have gotten to a point, TJ. And I mean this seriously, like, I can't even argue this anymore. I've been doing this for 10 years now, almost, where I'm arguing with people about charges. And I've gotten to a point where it's one of those arguments that there's so obviously a right side to this. This doesn't happen often in my life, because I'm generally a guy that shrugs his shoulders and just like, I don't know, great points. Everybody's making great points. You guys figure it out. I'm just going to sit this one out. But this is an instance where I'm in the fight. I'm the man in the arena. I'm in there fighting on this one. And I've been fighting the fight for so long that I have tried everything in my power to see the other side. And other than the personal bias of again, the Celtics fan, when you have 2 guys on your team that flop, but also not only that, but like I see their point of view as well with Celtics fans, that you play against a guy like Giannis who is so successful because he can drive to the basket and play a little bit of bully ball. Of course, you're going to want your team to have some sort of counter to that defensively. So you don't want charges to go away, or else you're screwed and there's no stopping Giannis, and the Bucks are going to win every NBA title. I understand all these points of views, but I still, at the end of the day, can't bring myself to join that side. Like I'll never see it, and here's why: because I think what the people who want to keep charges keep missing in this whole argument, this whole discussion, is that those of us that want to ban charges, get charges out of basketball forever. We're not asking for there to be no offensive fouls. We're not saying that Giannis Antetokounmpo and Ja Morant should have freedom to just put their heads down, not even look where they're going, dribble as hard as they can at the basket, try to dunk on everybody, and there's not a goddamn thing the defense can do. Nobody is saying that. Well, maybe there are a couple. If people are saying that, pay them no mind. That's not the argument. When we're trying to get rid of charges, we are not saying that offensive players deserve more freedom to just bulldoze people. I do not want to see offensive players bulldoze people. This is not something I want to see. What I want to see is one thing specific. And what I think most people want to see is one thing specific removed from the game of basketball. It is the help side defender sliding over at the last second, making zero play whatsoever on the ball, grabbing his testicles and falling over in a way that he is not trying to make any sort of basketball play at all, only trying to win the possession back and draw a foul on the other guy, because you're basically saying in those moments, I have no other play. I do not have the athleticism. I do not have the size. I do not have the skill. I do not have I was not in the right spot in the first place, and I had to try to rotate the last second to make the right play. You're basically conceding, I'm fucked here, and this is all I can do is grab my nuts and fall over. And I'm trying to get rid of that play. That's the play we're trying to get rid of. So I like that people are coming around on this. It does feel like there's still way too many people that don't quite understand the vision, I guess. So I want to talk this out. I want to. You let me know, TJ, if I'm leaving any gaps on this, because it really has gotten to the point where, like, I will not argue this. I can't, and it doesn't. I've done it for so long now that I've gotten to a point where, like, I'm just going to wait for everyone else to see what I've already seen years and years and years ago, because this is something that I swear to God, people in 40 years will be watching basketball from the 2020s. And they will be laughing at how guys used to play defense by grabbing their balls and falling over. And they'll be in the same way that we laugh at highlights of, like, Stanley from The Office, like how he dribbles, you know, and you see like a black and white clip of like a guy in the 40s like dribbling around like that, where he's like very slowly, methodically dribbling the ball. And all of us are like, this is hilarious that this is what basketball was back then. People are going to look back on charges and say that is going to happen. This will happen. It's happening right now. I'm doing it right now. I'm saying that this is insane that we allow this to happen. And I say this, by the way, before I go any further, I say this as a guy, I played a lot of basketball in my life. Every ounce of my defensive strategy when I was playing basketball throughout my entire life playing basketball was based around taking charges. I fit the mold of a guy who takes charges. I am the guy that is I'm a white basketball player, TJ. I'm all the stereotypes. I'm scrappy. I'm high IQ. I'm rotating over to help name something about like a fucking undersized, unathletic white dude that's out on a basketball court. That was me when I was playing defense. I have taken more charges in my life than I've done just about anything in my life. I very much had a lot of success. Any sort of success I had on the defensive end of the floor playing basketball, it was in large part thanks to charges being allowed. Okay, so I understand it. I understand, like, the people that think that this is a good play, whatever, or like that think that I'm only saying this because XYZ. I'm saying this because I'm a guy who remembers what it's like to be in those positions. And when I'm guarding Greg Oden in practice and he's, you know, on a pick and roll and I'm rotating over and he's rolling to the basket, I have no other play other than to grab my balls and slide under him and try to, like, you know, take his legs out from under him as he's dunking on me. That's the only play I have. And I knew then it was dirty. I know now it's dirty. I've known the whole time it's dirty. I was just like, if every time I do this, someone's going to slap me on the ass and say, great play, Mark, I guess I'll keep doing it, because, like, there's nothing else I can do out here. This is all I can do. So that is that. I understand charges. I'm fluent in charges. I'll just put it that way, TJ. So here's where I'm at with it all, is that I think my rule changes are this. I think if the offensive guy leaves his feet I think the defender should have to leave his feet. I think if an offensive player does not leave his feet, like if a guy's driving to a basket and the offensive player never jumps to go shoot a layup or whatever, you can still stick your chest out. You can still like beat him to the spot, like on a dribble, like as he's driving to the basket before he puts the shot up. I think those are fine plays. I think that's a great defensive stop. You beat him to a spot, stuck your chest out, you got there. Good defense, everybody. That's not what I'm talking about. That's okay by me. I think it's the plays. I should have led with this. The primary defender, obviously. I think those charges are still fine by me. The guy has the ball. You're guarding him straight up. He goes to drive. You stop. You're in front of him, and he just barrels through you. That's a charge. That's an offensive foul. We're going the other way. I'm not trying to get that out of the game. We need that in the game, obviously. Duh. This is a no-duh situation. We leave those in the game. If you're a secondary defender and the guy never goes up for the layup or the dunk or anything else, never goes up for a shot, I also think you don't need to jump. I think you could slide over. You can do all that shit. If a guy is jumping in the air to make a layup, to make a jump shot, to make a pass, even whatever, if he has now left the ground to make a play. At this point, if you are holding your nuts and falling over, I think you're not playing basketball. I think you're doing something completely different. I think you're doing something antithetical to what the game should be. And I think it's a detriment to the game, not only like from a stylistic point of view. I think it's a detriment in that now we're seeing guys get hurt like crazy. This isn't new. This isn't something. This isn't too. I don't feel this way because 2 superstars got hurt this week, and I felt this way for a long time. This has been going on in basketball forever. Guys are. You'll see guys that like take the charges will fall into dudes' knees behind them and hurt like guys standing behind them. You'll see the guys obviously. That are driving to the bucket that get undercut and they fall, like has happened with Ja and Giannis. This is something that's been going on forever. I think if the offensive player leaves the ground to make a play, at that point the defense has to make a play on the ball. And what I mean by that is I think you have to jump with him. I think you have to, if you keep verticality, we could still call that an offensive foul. And that's what I think people are losing all this that are saying we have to keep charges. We do have to keep, like, if you play good defense, you beat a guy to a spot, all this is great. I'm for it. I love it. I love the rotation. I love the help side. We're all applauding with you. Now the moment has come where Giannis is going to try to dunk on you. You can't just grab your nuts. Now you have to jump with him, stick your chest out, and if he barrels through your chest, that's still an offensive foul in my mind. And I still think we should call that an offensive foul. Now, the hard part about this is that do we trust the refs will get that right? And I understand that concern because, guys, you have like a rim protector who's jumping straight up in the air. And the image I will always have, and people will kill me for it because, his career flamed out and he's not in the league anymore. But Roy Hibbert on those Pacers teams like 10 years ago was the GOAT verticality guy who would just... I just like every time I picture a rim protector just jumping straight up and not trying to block the shot, but just walling dudes up at the rim. It was Roy Hibbert on like the 2012 or 2013 Indiana Pacers. Like that era of the Pacers is Roy Hibbert's big ass just walling up LeBron and the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Whatever. That is, you do that, guy barrels through you, you get the call. Can the refs make that call? I don't know, but my counterpoint to that would be, number one, they're not making great calls right now anyway on the charge block shit. Like this is already something they fuck up. At least in those situations, we don't have guys getting injured. And number two, you have to like put that. What does that have to do with the rules? Let's put that on the refs. Like that doesn't. At this point, that's like a different discussion. If we're gonna like, I in my mind, it's put the rule in. Now this is a concern. We have to get referees to award a guy. If you are a help side defender, you rotate over. A guy's going up for a dunk, and you just wall up, and he like sticks his forearm in your face as he's dunking through you. We have to get the refs to get to a point where they say that's actually not a good dunk. That was a foul. You ran right through the guy to dunk it. As cool as it looked, and as great of a poster as that will be. That's a foul. Sorry, we're going the other way. Do we trust the refs will call that? I don't know. In my mind, we cross that bridge when we get there. We put the rule in. We clean up this shitty part of the game first. Then we start figuring out how to get refs to call the verticality stuff a little bit better. But as I said, like that concern to me is like it is equivalent to where we're at already, because the refs already struggle with block charge calls, and that's just like the same sort of thing, except now you have guys dunking on each other and meeting each other at the rim and getting like actual basketball plays. You have a defender who's now actually trying to make a stop, and the injury risk goes away. So that feels like a trade-off that I'm willing to make. Your thoughts so far, TJ?
I would say my two main complaints, or not complaints, but points to bring up, is that one, this takes away from the maybe seventh guy off the bench on every high school team in Middle America or Mid-East
Right.
America.
Get him out of here.
That, like you said, that comes in to take charges. One of my friends growing up from college, Chris Hancock, has a huddle tape. It's just a minute and a half of him taking charges. And he mixed in a couple times where he actually got dunked on just to humble himself. But it's a great tape. And you take that away from guys like that don't have shooting ability. And then the other point is, like,
you should. We should be. I mean, like, it's funny and it's hilarious that he made that tape. But like, if we're in any other context, this is insane.
Yeah.
This doesn't pass the. It doesn't pass the if this doesn't exist and we put it in now test. You know, like if charges weren't a thing at all, and someone was like, "All right, so I was thinking, we need a new rule where like." If you're playing help side defense, you should be able to just stand there and fall over. And how many people would be like, that's a great fucking rule, dude. This is great. This is going to change the game. This is good. This is going to make the game so much better. Thank God we have this now.
Yeah. It's it's like the exploitation of like the way the rule's written, I guess. Like the same thing would be true as if there was a way for like a cornerback in the NFL to post up and stand directly in front of a wide receiver and get like an offensive PI call.
Exactly. And that would be ludicrous.
Yeah.
And the NFL would like they wouldn't even. That's what I mean. Like the second that this rule gets changed and it gets taken away, you start the clock on everyone looking back on basketball. It's like, I can't believe we used to do it that way.
My only other concern
is
is, like you said, like if the defender has to jump and meet the guy at the rim, they're going to take away a bunch of like otherwise show-stopping highlight reel dunks from players on offense. And I don't know if the NBA wants to limit that because they are like...
here's what I think will happen. I think, so I'll use me as an example. Again, I'm a guy who took a ton of charges because I couldn't do anything else. I can't... If Greg Oden or Evan Turner or guys I was guarding in practice are going to dunk a ball and I'm the help side defender, my only play is to take a charge, right? So you take that away from me, I have two options. I can either jump up with him and try to chest him and try to like block the shot, try to make a play, try to, make an actual play, make a basketball play defense. I can try to do that, or I could simply tip my cap and be like, you're 7 feet tall and an athletic fucking freak and I'm not. And sometimes in life and in basketball, things aren't fair, and you're bigger than me and stronger than me and more athletic than me, so I'm going to go ahead and tip my cap and enjoy your 2 points. I'm going to go meet you on the other end and try to score on that end because I'm not going to be able to stop it. So I guess that would bring me to the other part I want to address, because I see a lot of people talk about this, that you're basically giving more power to an offense in a league that is already way too watered down offensively. And you have guys, like we talked about it on the show, guys, every time you turn around, there's a guy in the league scoring 40, 50 points. So now you're making it even harder on defenses to stop these guys. So the other part of how to combat this is I think in general the NBA needs to do a better job of finding the balance of offense and defense. And we talked about it on the past shows. Like, I'm not saying that the NBA guys don't care on defense or don't try or any of those things. I'm just saying that like the offense has gotten way too good and there have to be some sort of countermeasures to stop them. And if you take away charges, obviously that's going to make it even worse. So I think number one, we get rid of a gather stat. Like we actually enforce traveling as James Naismith himself and desired for it to be called, as the basketball gods intended. There's only one professional. Otherwise, there's only one basketball league in this world that lets guys take 1,000 fucking steps on a basketball court, and it's the NBA. So what if we stopped doing that and we got rid of gather step bullshit and step back? Like, Tatum's the one that comes to mind. I don't mean to keep picking on Celtics fans, but Tatum has like the most egregious gather step back. Harden has it too. So there you go. I'll throw another guy in there. Get rid of that gather step bullshit. and call it like it's supposed to be called. Get rid of illegal screens, which is stuff that like a lot of people don't even notice. But like if you actually pay attention to off-ball stuff and the guys setting screens, especially the Warriors and Draymond Green setting screens for Steph, it's egregious. It's crazy. And I think like the NBA allowed it to happen forever because it's cool, because it's more offense and you let guys get open for jump shots more often. Yada, yada, yada. But now we've reached a point where it's like, there's one thing we don't need any more of in the NBA right now is offense. So what if we started calling illegal screens? And when you go to set a screen, you can't slide around. You have to, if you want to talk about guys holding their nuts and sliding, that might be worse than the charge taking, the illegal screens going on out there. And yeah, I think you call carries and travels more often. And I think like that's a good way to limit the offensive side. And then the way I would beef up the defensive side and give defenses more strength with as you're taking away charges, I don't understand in 2023 when I watch the NBA why defensive 3 seconds is still a thing. I don't understand it. I don't understand, like the NBA wanted, like Jim Boeheim scared the shit out of the NBA, and they watched 2-3 zones in college, and they were like, we can't have that in this league. We got to get guys out of the paint. We got to open things up a little more. You get guys out of the paint, you can allow more driving, more kicking. It creates like a more, because we got bogged down in the 90s. NBA basketball became a grind, and it became like way too ugly, and guys are clogging the paint, and so they put in defensive 3 seconds to mix it up and get more free flowing offense. I think we're good now. I think you can go back to. I don't think we're gonna. If you allow defenses, if you're a defense and you really want to have a guy just camp underneath the basket for some reason, you should be allowed to do that, because modern NBA offenses are going to make that defense pay anyway. They're going to find a way to get open shots from the perimeter, and that guy who you are camping underneath the basket is now going to have to come out anyway to guard shooters. That feels like an antiquated rule at this point. I feel like we don't need defensive 3 seconds anymore, and I think you allow teams to now, like, because what you can do then is you can park your rim protector underneath. You can get a little more creative with how you guard the perimeter. I don't see the problem with, like I said, zone defense to me, maybe it's because I'm a college guy. I don't love watching Syracuse all the time, but I don't think Syracuse, if Jim Boeheim, first of all, Syracuse's defense doesn't really work that much anyway, as is. Secondly, if you bring a 2-3 zone to the NBA with the shooting and the length and the NBA line being so far away, and that's just not going to work. You can't run a Jim Boeheim zone in the NBA and find success. So I don't understand why there's a rule preventing it. Like, let teams do it if they want. If you want to park a guy under the basket, that's your prerogative. Do it. And now it's on the offense to find a way to make a pay. But I think that could be like a way to now guys don't have to rotate over quite as much, because guys aren't like, if you're on the weak side. And there's a guy driving up for a right-handed layup, and you're playing weak side defense, you're probably now positioned outside of the lane on the weak side. Whereas if you allow defensive 3 seconds, that guy could be underneath the basket playing help side defense. And now you don't have a situation where that guy is sliding over quite as much at the last second. He's kind of already there. And then now it's on the offense to make like smarter decisions in those moments, so they're not barreling through the guy. I don't know. Again, TJ, this all makes so much fucking sense to me. Yeah. I lose my mind when I try to like see it any other way. I don't know. This is like one of those things that at a certain point I just go numb, and then I shut down, and I'm like, all right, I guess there's no convincing people to see it a different way.
Does the NBA use the G League as like developmental for rules the way that major leagues does the minor leagues?
I think they might. I don't know. That's a good question.
Because the majors will test out. The majors tested out like pitch clock. They've tested out like robot umps in certain leagues in the minors. That way they know right away like what the major glaring flags are or failures are with it. I guess I would want to see that. I think it would affect college more than it affects the NBA, but because there's so many big men in college that like don't have mobility.
It would affect college. Yeah, college I'd be more worried about. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Sorry to cut you off.
No, but so if you had a big man that could just camp and put up 20 and 20 every game, I think that would happen.
You still call offensive 3 seconds,
right? Yeah, but on defense, he could just stand there directly under and wait for a rebound to come down.
But you can still do that in college, though. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
I'm saying, why does the NBA have this rule? Because we do have that. Like in college, you can do that. In college, you could put all 5 guys underneath the basket and just have them stand there if you want. But like no one's going to do that because you're just giving up wide open shots, And what I'm saying is, like when defensive 3 seconds was put into the NBA many moons ago, every NBA team had like one guy that could shoot, you know, and the offensive approach to NBA basketball was dump it into the big man, let him dunk all over everybody, and then have your wings or your slashers or whatever also drive to the basket and try to dunk all over everybody. And that was just how people approach basketball. Obviously, if you've been watching the NBA in the last, 7 years now since Steph Curry taught us about three-pointers, I don't think that's a problem anymore. Right. So I don't think we need to worry about that as much. But I don't know. I think the biggest issue is trusting that refs will actually call when Giannis or LeBron or Kawhi or pick your athletic freak here with long arms drives to the basket, cocks it back, and Alex Caruso has rotated over and he's sticking his arm straight up and playing perfect defense and has chested the guy, and Giannis just like barrels through him as he dunks on top of him and flexes, and the crowd is going bananas. Do the refs A, have the ability, and B, have the balls to make the call that they would be correct in that situation, which is that's an offensive foul on Giannis? I do think that is a fair concern to have if we were to put this rule into place. But again, my thought on that is that's a separate problem. Like, that's a referee problem we now have to talk about, not a rules problem. That's a ref problem, and let's figure that out as well. But let's get the rule in place first and then teach the refs how to call it. I don't know. Anyway, this is way too much time. I'm getting worked up. I'm gonna way too much time arguing something I've been arguing for way too long. But I am hopeful that there will be a day where this will be taken out of basketball, because it is such a pain. Like, nobody likes it. Nobody, and you can pretend you do, and you could be like a Wisconsin basketball fan and see Brad Davison flop all the time and be like, I don't know, man, I love charges. You don't love charges. Shut up. You don't love charges. We know you don't love charges. When this happens to your team, you fucking hate it. Everybody hates it. There's nothing worse than a guy that's flopping, taking charges against your favorite basketball team and your favorite basketball player. That is a universal feeling everyone shared. Even if your entire basketball team, this is your identity defensively, when it now happens to you, you hate it. So I don't know. It feels like this is something that again, that'll be my final point. I'll say it again. It just feels like something that we'll all look back on and say, I can't believe that was a thing in basketball. And I'm sitting here right now saying that, and I've been saying that for a while. So we'll see. Quick break to talk about our friends at Gametime, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans for fans. Gametime is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. What they don't guarantee is that your favorite baseball team will be playing at home when you are in the city to watch them play, which is a lesson that I learned the hard way when I didn't pay enough attention to the scheduling, and I booked my trip to Chicago to look for houses, and then I was in Chicago thinking the Cubs might be at home tonight, even though I knew they were in LA. But like, part of me was so stupid because I was by Wrigley Field. I was like, I'm gonna check Gametime, I'm gonna get a last minute ticket, I'm gonna go to the Cubs game. And then I remembered I'm a moron and the Cubs aren't even at home and they were playing in LA where I live, and I couldn't even go to that either. TJ, I blew it. But it was nice to know that Gametime was there for me had I not completely screwed that up and flew to Chicago as the Cubs were coming to where I currently live, so I couldn't watch the Cubs. But anyway, Gametime was there. Had I been in the right city, it all would have been possible with the Gametime app, because the biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. The purchase process takes just 2 taps and 10 seconds, and once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text, so you can get into the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Gametime app or go to the website, enter your email, and use redeem code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but redeem the code Titus for $20 off at the Gametime app. Go do it now. Another takeaway I had. So on Saturday, I think it was, that was Knicks Cavs. Jalen Brunson was unbelievable that game. Mikal Bridges was awesome for the Nets also against the Sixers. Sixers won, obviously. Sixers are looking good. But I'm watching Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and I'm thinking to myself, damn, these Villanova guys, this just in. These Villanova guys can play basketball. They're pretty good. Dante DiVincenzo starting for the Warriors. Sadiq Bey can have some big games. I mean, it depends on basically whether he's hitting his threes or not, but plays for the Hawks. He's in the playoffs as well. Kyle Lowry's not the same player he once was, but he still gets burned for the Heat and had a good game in one of those play-in games, I think it was. So you're looking up and down, and you're like, damn, there are a lot of these Villanova guys that are they're having huge impacts. Brunson and Hart had 27 and 17 for the Knicks. They beat the Cavs in Cleveland. That series is going to be freaking awesome. Whether it'll matter long term, I don't know. Suddenly it becomes interesting if Giannis is hurt and the Bucks get bounced. But coming into the playoffs, I felt like the Knicks Cavs series is going to be a ton of fun and awesome. But it also feels like they're just fighting to see who gets stomped by the Bucks, but maybe that's not the case anymore. I do think it's going to be a really fun series, but the Nova guys stand out. And then also, if you're watching any NBA at any point in time with any two teams, the Kentucky guys stand out. But for some reason, this is something that I don't need to point out to listeners, to people that follow basketball. But for some reason, like it sometimes things that are so obvious to you still like hit you over the head again, and this happened again with Kentucky basketball players in the NBA as I was watching the playoffs, where, of course, I know how many Kentucky guys are in the league. Of course, I've paid attention to Kentucky basketball, cycling in one and dones and all that sort of thing. But like, I had a moment this week where I was like, God damn, there are a lot of John Calipari Kentucky guys. And I think it was De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk for the Kings, both scoring 30. And then you got Trey Lyles, that's on the Kings as well, that played at Kentucky, that I think he might have been... I don't know, but I remember Trey Lyles coming out of Indianapolis, and he was a 5-star recruit. He was thought of as a one and done guy. I think he ended up staying. Did he stay 2 years? He stayed 1 year. He was on the 2015 team that went undefeated and lost in the Final Four. But then all across the league, Devin Booker's on the Suns, obviously. Anthony Davis on the Lakers. Julius Randle's on the Knicks in the Brunson Hart game. Towns, Adebayo, Jamal Murray's playing for the Nuggets. He's healthy for the first time in the playoffs in a few years, since the bubble, basically. Tyrese Maxey. The list goes on and on and on. And I guess the debate I was having in my head, TJ, it was interesting because I thought to myself, like, which fan base should feel prouder about like turning on the playoffs and saying those are our guys out there. Now the arguments are this. Villanova, I looked it up on Real GM, I want to say, was the website. I just Googled like Villanova players in the NBA to make sure I had a list of them all. They all played for Jay Wright. There were, I think they listed 8 guys, but Cole Swider was one of them who transferred to Syracuse, so I took him off the list because if you transfer out of the program, I don't count that. Jalen Brunson, they have 7 guys in the league, according to Real GM, and 6 of those 7 guys are in the playoffs. Jeremiah Robinson Earl is the one guy who's not, and he plays for the Thunder, who were right there. Were in the play-in game and had a shot, and obviously didn't win. But yeah, so you have of your 7 guys, 6 are in the playoff, and your 7th was one win away from making the playoffs. And here are the 6 guys playing in the playoffs for Villanova right now: Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Sadiq Bey, Kyle Lowry, like I said earlier. And then Colin Gillespie, shout out to him, by the way, not playing, but he's on the Nuggets G League team. I think he had a 2-way with the Nuggets. Good vibes guy, good bench guy, good big time clapper on the bench. Big timeouts are happening. He's coming off the bench, high-fiving guys. Good locker room guys. So Colin Gillespie doesn't count, but shout out to him nonetheless. Of those 6 guys that Villanova has in the playoffs, TJ, only one of them was a 5-star recruit, Jalen Brunson. He was number 22 in his class. This according to 24/7 Sports. There are a lot of recruiting services out there. This is the one that, frankly, when I Google shit, comes up as the top result, so I use this one. I'm lazy, and this is the one I went to. Jalen Brunson, according to 24/7, was the only 5-star guy that went to Villanova. Every other player was a 4-star recruit. Bridges was ranked 81st in his class, according to 24/7. Josh Hart was number 79. DiVincenzo was 124. Sadiq Bey was 135. Kyle Lowry, a million years ago, was ranked 29th in his class. All of these guys they weren't bad players. They just weren't 5-star guys, with the exception of Jalen Brunson. And even he was ranked 22nd in his class. It wasn't like he was like a top 5 recruit. Meanwhile, on the Kentucky side of things, you have, I think the number was 26. I think Johnny Juzang might have been thrown in there as well. So I took him out because he transferred to UCLA. And then I started like trying to figure out who transferred, who didn't. And I was like, this is way too much work. So I'm just going to write down 26-ish. 26 guys in the league that played for John Calipari, Kentucky. I think there are 15 in the playoffs. BJ Boston and Winion Gabriel don't really get a ton of burn for the LA teams, but they count and they're on the rosters and they're active and they could theoretically play. But the rest of them, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Trey Lyles on the Kings, Devin Booker, Davis, Randall, Towns, Adebayo, Jamal Murray, Maxey, Tyler Hero, who's hurt now and for the Heat, Emmanuel Quickley, Jared Vanderbilt. Those are your Kentucky guys. Of that list, TJ, every single one of those names you just heard, every single one with the exception of Tyler Hero was a 5-star recruit. Every single one. Tyler Hero was a 4-star, but every single guy was 5-star. Fox was number 6, Monk was 11, Booker was 22, Davis was 1, Randall was 2, Towns was 5. You get the idea. This is not news. I'm not breaking news. Kentucky gets big time recruits. And this, by the way, doesn't include Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as I shouted out Jeremiah Robinson-Earl on the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaging 30 whatever it was points for the Thunder this year. Also almost made the playoffs. So he's not included in the mix, but he's also kind of included in the mix. So the big question I had, TJ, is like which fan base, like what is more impressive to you? Because on the one hand, it's awesome to think that like Villanova. I would be super proud if I'm a Villanova fan and I'm turning on the playoffs and I'm like, oh my God, you got all these guys that come and play for Jay Wright and they're 4-star guys and they're not bums, but they're also not guys that anybody said these guys are surefire NBA players. They come play for Jay Wright, they come to Villanova, they win national championships, and now you look up and Jalen Brunson is the guy on a playoff team, is winning road playoff games by taking over down the stretch. Mikal Bridges is incredible. Josh Hart is I mean, I'm on and on and on. There's a lot to be proud of, but then the sheer just numbers of Kentucky, the sheer just like, holy shit, list of dudes that played at Kentucky is so overwhelming. But at the same time, all of these dudes are 5-star guys, and it's like, did Kentucky have anything to do with their success, or was it just like a pit stop along the way? And Kentucky, I don't need to point this out, John Calipari won 1 national title with these 26 players he's got in the league. Jay Wright won 2. Not that national titles are the end-all be-all, but there is that to consider. And I don't know. I just find it a fascinating discussion because there's two. It represents 2 very different ways to approach college, building a college program. And I think both coaches and both programs and both fan bases would say we are very, very successful. We are very proud. And if you turn on the NBA playoffs, you see our guys littered all across the league, and that is indicative of how great our program is. But they went about it 2 very different ways. And I don't know. I find that fascinating because this is something we've talked about with these college programs for years and years and years. And now, 10 plus years removed from John Calipari taking over at Kentucky, we're now in that era where you're seeing the patterns emerge, or like the fruits of the labor, where it's like, this is what 10 plus 15 years almost now at this point of 5-star recruiting classes looks like now when you turn on NBA games of just Kentucky guys everywhere.
I would want to know, I guess, on the 5-star point, like how many 5-stars in general, like what percentage of 5-stars in general
like make it to the league.
Yeah, make it to the league versus 5-stars that played under Calipari made it to the league. I think the Villanova thing's more indicative of Jay Wright's coaching abilities, especially when you see like Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart like playing together on the Knicks and how they like mesh as pros together that played in college. There was a viral video of when the Brunson found out that the Knicks traded for Josh Hart, and he was like back at Villanova for something. He was freaking out. Like that's a clear case to me that like he had an influence on those teams, and that's why they play so well together. Also,
they
just
definitely have more of like a bond. I think the Villanova guys have like
they came up together or whatever, and they were developed versus kind of sent through like not a system, but like Kentucky. You go to Kentucky, that's what you expect to come out. You're a 5-star that signs with Kentucky. You're expecting to go there for 1 year.
You go to Kentucky for that reason. You're like, this is the path to the NBA.
It's a factory for pro guys.
And I don't mean to shit on Cal and say that that he's not doing anything to help these guys get there. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. I was, as I'm watching the playoffs, I'm thinking to myself, like, would I rather be a Villanova fan or a Kentucky fan?
Yeah.
Watching this, and like who's getting more enjoyment out of watching these playoffs, I guess, would be my question.
Let me bring up a third option to that argument. Kentucky fans, Villanova fans, or let's say Davidson fans.
Yeah, just one. You have one guy, but you're just like, that's a.
But he's Steph Curry.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah, he's your one guy. Washington State is like Klay Thompson's
Murray
guy.
State. Yeah, like these super small programs that get a guy, and that's their guy. Because for me,
Ohio State with LeBron James.
Right. Yeah. Akron with LeBron James, UCLA with LeBron James.
North Carolina with
For me, like if Ron Harper Jr. all of a sudden burst onto the NBA scene and was a super stud for the Raptors, I would be all in, waving the Raptors flag around, wearing merch, it would be everything. I would be locked in, laser focused on the Raptors because that's my guy.
Right.
And we haven't had a guy in the NBA for a decade.
I think that's it. I think if you are a fan of a school that doesn't get a ton of guys in the league, and now you have one guy who, I mean, certainly if he's of like Steph's caliber, I imagine that's pretty fun. I imagine that might be the answer. But as much as so Villanova fans, although now is different because Jay Wright's not coaching anymore, but I would say that like Villanova fans definitely without question have had a more enjoyable college experience. Like cheering for Jay Wright basketball the last however many years has been, it's not even just they won 2 national titles, it's that it's got to be so much fun to watch guys grow and turn into as good of players as they become. And Villanova plays such a fun style of basketball that I imagine the answer is Villanova, but I can't see it any other way than being Kentucky. Like that would be so freaking sick if half the freaking playoff rosters were made up of Ohio State alums, dude. Yeah. That'd be so awesome. So as much as I hate to do this because nobody likes making fun of John Calipari more for celebrating W's that nobody else was going after. You know, like Cal's like the king of saying I have $3 billion of NBA contracts, and it's like, yeah, because Fran McCaffrey was trying to win the Big Ten, dude. You know, like I don't think like Fran McCaffrey is a bad example. I'm full of bad examples on this show. I don't know why I do that. Tony Bennett's a better example. Tony Bennett was trying to win a national title. He's not trying to. Or he's trying to he's like Cal plays like a different game from every other coach, and then when he's the only one playing it and he wins, he says, I did it. I won the game that no one else was trying to play. And it's like, all right, congrats, Cal. But also, that's pretty sick. It's a sick game that you just won, Cal. Congratulations. I think that would be my answer. I think I'd have more fun watching. I think it'd probably be Kentucky. But shout out to the Villanova guys.
I think at some point it's almost like, well, I guess Kentucky is in an area where who's a Kentucky fan's NBA team? Memphis?
Yeah, maybe the Pacers, but probably not because there's kind of like a beef with Kentucky and Indiana at times.
It's like maybe a gloating thing, but I don't know if a Kentucky fan, there's like so many of them, it might be hard to care that hard. That's
a good point too. Is that you don't have like a core of guys that you care about. Yeah. It's just kind of like and do they? I think some do more than others, but like how married to Kentucky are they?
Yeah.
You know, I think that factors in too of like how much do they come back? And I know a lot of these guys do. A lot of the Kentucky guys do come back and love Cal and love Kentucky, but that probably factors in as well is that ratio and then also like just how likable are they? Because even I don't think Davis is. I don't know. I if I was a Kentucky fan, I would love Anthony Davis for what he did for us in 2012, and he's the greatest one and done player of all time. But I don't think the NBA version of Anthony Davis is a guy that a ton of people are like, this is so fun to cheer for. This guy rules.
Anthony Davis.
No matter how talented he is. Yeah, the Anthony Davis. Yeah. Fox is that guy though.
Yeah.
Which is why it hurt so much when Fox took shots at college basketball, because I think De'Aaron Fox is a ton of fun. I think he loves Kentucky. I think him and Monk being on the same team is a fun story. Booker's not. I don't know. We don't need to go through every guy. Let's move on. But
it's just the Kings. Everybody on the Kings. Everybody on like the low seed teams. Kings, even like these Knicks, and are kind of fun. And Mikal Bridges is fun, but the Kings is how can you hate any of the Kings?
What would make you happier as a Rutgers fan if you had the Villanova deal where guys that you watch for 2 or 3 or 4 years blossomed into NBA guys, and now they're starting on and playing huge roles on playoff teams, or you're just the one and done factory that now owns half the league.
No, the former, I guess, because I'd rather have a guy who's like, I'm proud that his like jerseys is in the rafters or his name is on the building or something. Like, sure, the one and done guys make more money probably, but I want a guy that like I feel connected to.
I watched his journey. I remember when he got here as a freshman and he was nothing, and now look at him, and versus he came here as the number 1 recruit in the country and now he's
the
an
number
NBA
1
All-Star.
recruit in the NBA.
Right. Another takeaway. I have 3 more. I'll go through a lot quicker. Russell Westbrook is good. Russell Westbrook is good. He's always been good. His legacy is good. Legacy secured. I'll put it that way. Russell Westbrook, not to overreact from one game, but his basketball playing legacy is secure. Russell Westbrook is fascinating to me because he is a guy who, as time has worn on, people have convinced themselves that he's not a good basketball player and was never a good. Like it feels weird to me that a man who won an MVP in this league and is one of the hardest working players every time he takes the floor, and has been undeniably successful as a basketball player. We've reached a point where he's kind of became a punchline. And I understand how it happens, and I know that guys fall off, and I know that, I understand the arcs of careers and how that works, but I always felt like the Westbrook, I don't know if you want to call it slander, but just like the people piling on Westbrook, it swung too far to where like you have people that like maybe don't pay a ton of attention to basketball that actually think that Russell Westbrook is a horrendous basketball player and brings nothing to the table, and that his legacy, if you care about such a thing, is that he was not a good basketball player, and like you wonder if like in 20 years will people remember Russell Westbrook as the guy, as Westbrook? Is that how we're going to remember him, as the guy that bricks shots and kicks 12-year-olds out of NBA games because they were yelling at him too much? I want to just go on record as saying that I think Russell Westbrook is a good basketball player still, is obviously not as good as he once was, but he will be in the Hall of Fame, and when that happens, I will not be laughing. That's I guess the point I want to make, TJ, is I will not be, because I see the future, and when Russell Westbrook gets in the Hall of Fame, it's going to be a riot on the internet. Like people are going to just be clowning him like crazy and saying, what the hell is going on? How did this happen? This guy's a goof. He can't shoot. He's Westbrook. Yada yada yada. I don't know. I guess like maybe it's because I was raised as a kid that was like, it was beaten into my head over and over by my dad that like averaging a triple double is impossible, and Oscar Robertson did it, and that's the coolest thing that's ever happened in the NBA. And then Russell Westbrook's like, yeah, watch this. This is easy. And then somehow, like even when that happened, like people wouldn't give him credit. They would say he was like hunting rebounds too much or like hunting assists too much. And that never really tracked with me because I was confused. Like he's hunting good things. Like he was trying to grab. Like how is that? Is that a detriment that he was trying to make good plays? Even if it was to boost his stats, like that's still a good thing, right? Like every other guy on the court's like hunting points. Like that's kind of how it works, is we're all go out there trying to have a positive impact on the game. So I don't know. I say that to say though that like I do understand that Westbrook's not exactly the most likable guy. So like he's just fascinating to me, man. 3 for 19 in this game one. Very clearly wins the game for him with his hustle plays. I mean the play on Devin Booker at the end was incredible. But all those offensive rebounds he's pulling down. The first half defense against Durant. He's a winning basketball player and he's good. He's just. Is he likable? I don't know. I certainly wouldn't argue that he is. Like he brings a lot of it on himself. The Westbrook jokes, like at a certain point, he has to acknowledge that he can't shoot and he should probably stop shooting. You know, you can't go 3 for 19 unless you're like he would have. If the game would have kept going, he would have ended up being like 3 for 28. He just would have kept shooting. You know, like that's how he's wired. And I don't think he's a victim for some of the shit he gets thrown at him, because he does have a refusal to like stop shooting. The stuff with the fans is insane to me. I still don't understand how that keeps happening, and I will not defend him whatsoever with any of that. I mean that is soft with a capital S. That he wants like every fan kicked out that says Westbrook. Which, by the way, are we sure that these people don't just have accents, TJ? Westbrook with the right accent. It's not like his name is like Westberg or something, and he's not Frank the Tank here. That's like taking some part of the last name and drastically changing it to throw Brick in there. You know, like his name is already West. If you say it fast enough or mumble Westbrook,
yeah,
Westbrook, Russell Westbrook. Like, which one am I saying? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think like a Baltimore accent would like turn that on its head or something. Like,
yeah, exactly. So this whole deal of like him getting people kicked out and trying to start fights with that video of him like coming through the fan section.
I need to know more about the setup of whatever stadium that is. How is a player ever coming close to like a suite area with fans just like eating catered food inside? Well, how was that part of the walkway to the locker room?
It's crazy. And the fact that he allows this to continue to happen is the ultimate Streisand effect of this would have gone away. Like the first instance was probably a guy with an accent calling him Westbrook, just trying to get his attention. He thought he said Westbrook and had him kicked out. And then ever since then, everyone's like, oh, he gets triggered if you say Westbrook. So let's just keep saying it. The point I want to make with all this is that Westbrook may not be likable. He may be an easy target to make jokes about. I'm not arguing otherwise. You know, you're free to think what you want to think. I would just say he's a good basketball player. And that's like ultimately don't let the memeing of him and the and all of that take away from the fact that this man is a Hall of Fame basketball player. And like that is, if you focus on just the basketball part of it, just the like he won the game for them. He literally won the game. Like the Clippers do not win that game without Russell Westbrook. And if it's hard because that's how the NBA works, is that they want you to talk about all the off-court shit and all what the clothes that Russell Westbrook's wearing to the game and all that sort of thing. So it's hard to detach the two. But I guess I just want to get out ahead of this. When Russell Westbrook makes the Hall of Fame, I will not be laughing. That's my takeaway, TJ, from Game 1. I will not be laughing. He deserves to make the. He's a great basketball player. Can still be a really good basketball player. But there are just people out there that truly believe that like the fact that an NBA team was paying this man money in 2023 is a crime against humanity. And I feel like someone needs to like. Well, not someone. I'm happy that Game 1 seems to like pull that back to like a reasonable level of like, no, this guy can still have a great impact on basketball games. He's just sometimes a bozo that gets in fights with fans and doesn't stop shooting.
Yeah, you know? He does the Dion Waiters when he's on the court. I'd rather be 0 for 30 than 0 for 9 because 0 for 9 meant you lost confidence.
Yes. There's also something too where I think like people that play really, really hard in the NBA, they get clowned on a little too much. It's like corny to be a guy who plays hard, you know?
Yeah.
Like Matthew Dellavedova when he was on those Cavs team, like people were laughing at him. And I saw J.R. Smith had a clip, I think it was a Reddick show, where he said like Dellavedova was like willing to kill himself trying to stop Steph Curry. And I think J.R. Smith was paying him or giving him credit, you know, and like giving him props, and he wasn't making fun of him. But there was like this sentiment. I remember like watching Delly guarding Steph, you're kind of laughing at him. And that's like that's always like been weird to me because it's like, what do you want the guy to do? Like, what do you want him to be cool? He has to play hard to stop. That's the only hope he has. Like Steph Curry's the best player on the floor right now.
Yeah.
Of course he should stop. But I feel like there's that with like Caruso when he was breaking in with the Lakers, he was like a punchline to people, and he finally got to the point where he was getting people's respect. Is like he's actually a good player that makes winning plays, and TJ McConnell gets some of that, you know, and Pat Bev gets that, you know, like, but these guys that like have impact mostly just by playing their fucking balls off, somehow that's not cool in the NBA and that's corny as shit. And if you're a guy that does that, you're opening yourself up to a lot of memes and whatnot. Yeah. TJ
Dylan Brooks is a big target of that right now, where he like plays super hard defense and gets really excited when he does defense, and then people are like, let's settle
what a loser.
Let's calm that down, buddy.
Yeah, and I'm like, I mean, you can hate him for other reasons, for sure. Like, Dylan Brooks has a million reasons to hate him, but don't hate him because he plays hard. Don't hate Russ Westbrook because he'll crash the boards, you know, or block shots from Kevin Durant from behind, and like he'll make hustle plays and he'll pump himself up and all that. I don't know. I think those sorts of things should be commended, especially in a league where guys, frankly, don't give a shit 98% of the time. I don't think we should necessarily make fun of that, but I don't know. Everyone's free to do what they want. Sometimes the days can get so crazy that you forget to make time for fun. When that happens, you've got to choose to chill. So go ahead, say yes to midweek happy hours and catching the game after work. And while you're at it, enjoy an ice-cold Coors Light, the beer that's made to chill. There's only one beer out there that's literally made to chill, and that's Coors Light. The mountains on the bottles and cans even turn blue when your beer is cold. That way you always know when it's time to chill. When you're making time to chill, crack open a Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment made to chill. I cracked open a few when I watched the case race, TJ. I watched you guys doing that. I watched it on Saturday night in my hotel room. I threw it on. I ran to the 7-Eleven, grabbed a 6-pack of Coors Lights. Did not do a case. Just grabbed a 6-pack of Coors Lights, posted up. I made it like 2 hours in, so don't spoil the last.
It's all downhill from there.
It was spoiled already for me that what happened the last like hour and a half. But I made it like 2.5. I made it through the stinky cloud stuff, so that was very enjoyable, and it was nice sipping on some Coors Lights, because when you choose to chill, pair your plans with an ice cold Coors Light like I did with the case race. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/Titus. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Another takeaway I had: the Lakers might be legit. TJ, I don't want to overreact from one game, but the Lakers. I had a lot of questions. I did. And I might at some point, at another point in these playoffs, because I doubt that they're going to win 16 straight, and maybe they're going to get their asses handed to them, and we'll be back to the drawing board questioning their role guys again. But, yeah, I don't know. Coming in, it was like Dennis Schroeder was the one guy other than LeBron and AD that I would point to and say, I know exactly who that guy is and what he can bring to the table. I don't want him running the point. I don't want the ball in his hands all the time. But as a sixth man off the bench, he's great. I like him a lot. The rest of the guys are not bad. It's just I don't know what I'm getting with them. Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura, how good can they be? D'Angelo Russell can be great at times. He can be not great at times. And how consistent will he be? And there were just so many question marks with the Lakers where I was taking a cautious approach of like, I don't want to buy into the hype. I understand why people might want to. I don't want to get there till I see it. And then game one against the Grizzlies on the road, immediately you see it and you're like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, if Rui Hachimura is going to score 29 points and Austin Reaves is going to completely take over the game in the way that he did. Yeah, I saw Desmond Bane's quote about Hachimura was like, yeah, he played the game of his life. Let's see if he can do it again, which a little salty, a little bit of a salty quote, but he's not entirely wrong, I guess, because I doubt that Rui Hachimura is going to score 29 points every single night out. But the thing with the Lakers is that the more success you can have where LeBron has to do absolutely nothing, the better setup you are for a title run. Obviously, this is not like a compelling thought. I'm just stating the obvious here, so everyone remembers that LeBron James does play for the Lakers, and as I talked about on the last show, LeBron is not going to give you 48 minutes of dominance every single night now. But when LeBron decides to turn it on, he's still LeBron James, and if you can save him for those moments, the more you can do that as the Lakers, the more the Lakers can do that, they just become more and more dangerous. And yeah, that's what I saw in game one, was just like, all right, well, yeah, if these role dudes can step up, and D'Angelo Russell didn't even play super well. LeBron basically did nothing that game, and I say that not to shit on LeBron. I just say that like he was going through the motions. He was taking game one as a feel out game, which he's want to do. LeBron throughout his career will typically use game ones to just like get a sense of the vibe check. That's a vibe check LeBron game. And he was willing to do that in Memphis, and Austin Reaves had other ideas where he's like, what if we went out and won this game? What if I just take over down the stretch? And that is what I think makes the Lakers so dangerous, is that you're giving them free W's basically. Because like the way you have to make the Lakers beat you is make LeBron and AD go nuclear, and they did not have to do that against the Grizzlies, and now Ja Morant is out. The series was interesting though on paper, because you have, I think the Lakers have the two best players in AD and LeBron on paper. And then the Grizzlies probably have the next four, I would say. Morant, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson are probably all better than the Lakers' third best player is probably D'Angelo Russell. So in that regard, it's like, are the Lakers too top heavy? Will the Grizzlies' depth overcome? Like, who's going to win out in that tug of war? If the Grizzlies don't have Ja Morant, they already don't have Brandon Clark. They already don't have Steven Adams. I don't think it's people buying into LeBron and the Lakers on the front of the chest if you are now someone who believes that the Lakers are going to win this series. I think that is a rational point of view to have, even though Memphis is the 2 seed in the West. I think the Lakers should be favored in this series at this point. And that is not even me overreacting from game one. It is just simply saying that, like, it was already a little, you know, like the formula to win in the NBA for as long as I can remember has always been to have the best player. Or if you have the 2 best players in a series, you're probably going to win the series. Like, this is not rocket science. The Lakers had that coming in. The way you talked yourself into the Grizzlies was home court advantage, Ja Morant being spectacular, and just the overall depth. Now they have none of those things. They squandered home court, they lost Ja Morant, and they have no more depth. So I don't know what argument you're making for the Grizzlies other than just like hoping Anthony Davis continues to get hurt. Did you see that in game?
Yeah.
Like he's holding his shoulder. He's like, I can't feel my arm, and then he comes back out just hitting fadeaways.
He got a stinger. He got a stinger or a nerve pinch or something. But yeah, he does that seemingly every game at this point, where it's like, oh, he's going to have his career is over, and then 5 minutes later, he's walking back out the tunnel.
He's and not just walking out, but then like he comes on the court and makes insane plays. He doesn't even come out and like feel it out. It's not even like I can go, but I don't know if I can give you 100%. It's like, yeah, I'm 100%. Watch this. Fade away. Boom.
I will say one of my worries about the Lakers, maybe long term, I think they should be fine in this series because of the injuries. But when you have like a playoff run that's supplemented by these like random, let's use random as not a mean term, but a descriptor for a guy like Austin Reaves or Rui Hachimura. Like these role player guys come in and have like, oh, that's the Rui game. That's the Austin Reaves game. When they blow their load, not only doing it in the first round of the playoffs, but also 2 in the same game. I don't know how many Rui games there's going to be in a stretch run, and I worry that they might have like come out and, oh, LeBron said this is the most important run of his career. Like, we got to do it for him. This is our chance to like make our names here. And they both blasted all they had in the first game of the first round. And now they don't have anything left for the run.
Right. I hear what you're saying. I think if you're the Lakers, you're just thinking like pass that responsibility around. And like, we don't need Austin Reaves to be awesome in the next game. We don't need Rui Hachimura to be awesome in the next game. Maybe it's D'Angelo Russell's turn. And maybe it's Schroeder's turn, you know? And if those guys, and at the end of the day, if none of those guys step up, then we turn to LeBron halfway through the fourth quarter and we say, LeBron, please save us. We're down 7 with 6 minutes left. This falls on you. And then he's like, fine, I'll do it. I'll be the best player.
I have to.
The Lakers are I mean, they're already fascinating because they're the Lakers and they have LeBron James, and you know, people talk about them all season for those 2 reasons. But I do think it is. I don't know. I'm saying this is. I'm trying to be unbiased, TJ. I'm trying to offer like a neutral point of view on all this. I think the people that are getting excited about the Lakers aren't necessarily in hysterics. I don't think it's unfounded to believe that the Lakers have a run in them, I guess, because the questions you have about the Lakers are not. We don't have definitive answers. That's the whole point of having the questions. It's not like it's not like they're glaring weaknesses. It's that this is a really, really good team. It's just, have they been tested to an extent and under certain circumstances? That part we still don't know, but they have the pieces. They have the pieces, absolutely, for sure. It's just a matter of whether they can put it all together. And I like their draw too, by the way, and the West being wide open. And I don't know, that would be my biggest overreaction. I you know, it's hard not to overreact from one game, but you know, the rational part of your brain kicks in and is like, it's one game in the first round series, literally one game. You have to win 16 to win a title. They've won 1. Let's calm down. But if I have one massive overreaction from the first week into the playoffs, it's holy shit, the Lakers are a lot better suited for a title run than I thought they were.
Plus they got Laker Dan back.
Yeah. And they got Laker Dan back. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw he learned how to use TikTok. And he dropped the top 5 Lakers of all time list last night.
I did. Did Kareem Abdul-Jabbar die today? Or no, we're good. The streak was snapped?
Yeah.
The streak was snapped?
Kareem 1, Magic 2, Shaq 3, LeBron 4, Austin Reaves 5.
But the last time he did the Laker Dan bit, Kobe died the next day.
Correct, yeah. Right after he trashed Kobe like 10 hours later.
I don't know. If it was me, I would retire it. But that's the difference between me and Big Cat. He's not afraid to keep hammering. My final takeaway, TJ, from weekend number 1 is that as much as De'Aaron Fox wanted me not to say this, and as much as I feel like he's an enemy of college basketball, thing that I love more than most things in this world, I can't deny that the Sacramento Kings are America's team. I think the Sacramento Kings are very clearly America's team. I think even the part of me that, as a college basketball fan, that says, "Oh, hang on a second, De'Aaron Fox, are you an enemy of the game? Are you? Is this a war on college basketball that you're declaring?" I can't help but notice that every single guy on the roster for the Kings played in college, and every single guy in the rotation that every single guy that saw the floor in Game 1 against the Warriors played in the NCAA tournament, except for Alex Len, who played at Maryland for 2 years and they never made the tournament. But every other guy not only played in college, they played at like relevant programs. They played in the NCAA tournament, and that's part of the reason I like them as America's team. But also, they're the freaking Kings. They never win anything. It's been forever since they've been this good. The light the beam thing is the corniest, stupidest thing in the world. I swear the Columbus Blue Jackets did this. When I was living in Columbus, I remember there being a massive light that would shine from Nationwide Arena. I think that might have just been that if there was a game on, or there was a game going on inside the arena, I think they had like a big beam. I don't know if they did it just for wins, so maybe the Kings did invent that, but whatever. It's the dumbest thing in the world, and yet it works, and I can't get enough of it. I love seeing it. I love seeing the owner be very weird as he's putting his hands over
like right on top of. Yeah.
They have a team full of likable guys, and they play fast. They score a ton of points. I don't know. Is that fair to? Because if I was thinking about America's team, I did process of elimination, because like Kings were very obviously number 1 to me, but then I was trying to think of who could knock them off.
Yeah.
And I went process of elimination, that I thought if you have won a title in the last 10 playoffs, I don't think you can be America's team. So that takes the Warriors out, the Cavs are out, the Bucks are out, the Lakers are out. The Heat were technically 10 years ago, 2013. I think they can be.
They're too publicly relevant because of the big 3 were there. Like, they're too well known by the public. Kick them out, and then kick both of the New York teams out too, because they're New York teams.
I was gonna say, I think the whole Northeast in general can't be America's team. I think Philly's out. I think both New York teams. I think Boston's out.
Boston's definitely out. Too relevant.
You're not getting the rest of America to cheer for any team in the Northeast.
Yeah.
It's just not happening.
I would say it's probably between the Kings and the Bucks, just because people seem to like the Bucks because they're Midwest nice or whatever.
Yeah, but the Bucks, I think the Bucks having won the title makes it. So then I made a list of the extremely hateable guys on the team, which the Grizzlies I think are the most hated team, with Morant and Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane. Like, they're so easy to hate for people. The Timberwolves with Rudy Gobert, I don't think anybody's rooting for. The Suns with CP3 and Durant, and even Devin Booker. Devin Booker is sneaky. I like him still, I think, but like. He's not hateable. He's just sneaky. Like, let's look up in 5 years and reevaluate how likable Devin Booker is. The jury's still out at times. We talked about Trae Young and the Hawks. I think a lot of people hate him. I don't hate him, but I think that's a hard sell to say that Trae Young and the Hawks should be America's team. So it really just leaves like the Kings, the Nuggets, the Clippers. That's about it. I think we named like every other team of the. Are the Nuggets? Can you be America's team if your 2 best players aren't American?
That's what I was going to bring up, is
Serbian and Canadian with Jamal Murray?
I think it's the Kings.
I don't know.
I just like, I think that the whole aspect of them being like cringe or whatever, like the beam is cringeworthy. That rarely works towards winning a championship. Like, I think like the early 2000s Angels had like the rally monkey is what I think.
The rally monkey, yeah.
Like, that was
the Ted
great.
Lasso believe sign that you're slapping. It's like, all right, we get. That's cool.
It works.
That's cute.
When
but
you have like a young, scrappy underdog. Like, I think a lot of people that don't watch a ton of NBA are like, what are the Kings? Because they haven't been relevant in 15 plus years.
Right. And then you watch them, and you watch that Warriors game, which, by the way, I should have said this at the top. We're recording this before the game's on Monday, so game 2 is happening tonight. I'm going to go ahead and predict it was a ton of fun and a lot of points were scored. There you go. That's the recap. But yeah, the you watch them play against the Warriors, and they're up and down, and their offense is incredible, and it's just a high scoring. Like that game was so fun. Like everybody, that seemed to be the game that captured America's attention the most of all these early series in terms of just like the most fun series. And yeah, part of it is the big bad Warriors versus the team that's right down the road that is in the smaller market that is in freaking Sacramento and has all the corny shit like you said, and they got like the whole vibe of the fans is they have that like small market energy of like they're just rallying behind the team in a way that the big markets don't until they think they have a title, until it's the NBA Finals or they have a team that's capable of winning the title. The Kings fans aren't there to win the title. They're just there to like win. They're there to see one game won against the Warriors. And then once that happens, they're like, that was cool. Let's hopefully win another one. And that's all they're really asking for right now. And that's hard not to cheer for if you're a neutral fan. So I think the Kings are America's team.
It's interesting.
I think it's pretty clear.
That like they're very similar to like the Oakland Athletics fan base. Like they suck currently. And their stadium sucks, and there's no reason to go to games. But when they put together like the winning streak that they do once every 5 years to sneak them into a wild card, somehow there's now thousands and thousands of athletics fans finally like banging down the door into this. Like, where did all these people come from? That they're all diehard athletics fans when they have like 3,000 people at a game in April. It's like the Kings Arena is rocking all of a sudden.
I want some investigative journalism done. Jake Marsh is the big J. I think we have a Barstool. I think I got to put him on the case. Go investigate how many of these Kings fans used to go to Oracle Arena and cheer on the Warriors as they won NBA titles, and now that the Kings are good,
why would you give up that fandom though to be a Kings fan all of us? Like you have
here's my theory is they were Kings fans during the early 2000s when the Kings were good and would lose to the Lakers, and some would argue were cheated by the Lakers, cheated by the NBA. Then the Kings fall off and the Warriors get good, and I think maybe those Sacramento fans were like, I just want to see good basketball, so they started going to Warriors games, and then the Warriors became not just good, but like a phenomenon we've never seen before, where they set the record for the most wins. Steph is revolutionizing basketball. They're just so freaking fun. And what if that's the reason Oracle Arena was so loud, was because it was actually full of Kings fans that had converted to Warriors fans temporarily. And that's why when you watch those playoffs games with the Warriors back when they were in Oakland and they were playing in Oracle, that place was fucking bonkers, but it was really just Kings fans driving like an hour and a half, however far it is from Sacramento, to go to Oracle Arena. And they brought their energy. And then now that the Kings are competitive again, they've turned their back. And now that the Warriors play in San Francisco, they're like, screw all that. We're back on the Sacramento bandwagon. And that's why Sacramento's loud again. I don't know. I might be onto something. It might just be a bunch of flip-floppers in Northern California. That might be what's going on.
I guess we'll see if the Kings and Warriors meet.
Last thing I wanted to talk about is the Chinese basketball scandal going on, because I still don't really fully understand what this was. You saw this story?
I saw the
Shanghai Sharks,
the headline, and I saw like the names, I guess, that I recognize that are on this team.
Eric Bledsoe and Michael Beasley on the Sharks. Yeah, so the way the Chinese basketball league works is you only get so many foreigners on your team. Like they have, if I don't know what the numbers are, but say you have a roster of 12, 10 of those people have to be Chinese, and then you get like 2 or 3. I think it's 2. You get 2 roster spots that are American dudes. They don't have to be American, but they can be any foreigners, but most of them use the Americans to be their guys. So you'll have like 2 Americans on the team, and then those 2 guys are absolutely dominant. Beasley's been playing over there for a minute, but I don't think he's as good as he once was. I don't think he's putting up the numbers. But there have been occasions of American dudes going over there and just dropping an absurd amount of points. I don't know if the league's gotten better or what, but the story coming out of the Chinese league right now is that the Shanghai Sharks and the Jiangsu Dragons were both found guilty of, quote, being negative in competition was the accusation, TJ.
Yeah.
And they played a 3-game quarterfinal playoff series. And games 2 and 3, both teams threw the Sharks threw game 2 is what they said, and the Dragons threw game 3. And the Sharks threw game 2 because Eric Bledsoe is serving a 4-game suspension. And apparently they said if if we can push this series to 3 games, then we'll get him back sooner for the semifinal playoff series. And so they were doing like game theory with that sort of thing where, I don't know, Greg Popovich was like, say that again. I'm trying to jot these notes down. Like, what kind of load management was this? That was genius. I love that idea. But that was apparently what the Sharks did in game 2. The Dragons then in game 3, or no, yeah, the Sharks did that in game 2, and then they did it again in game 3. Am I understanding that correct? Who threw the game in game 3? Was it the Sharks again?
I think that whatever the situation is, both teams are getting punished because of this.
I think the Sharks then threw it in game 3 as well, and this is what was confusing to me, is I think this is a witch hunt. This was the controversial stance I had, because I saw a bunch of people like laughing and saying this is, if you watch the clip, wait, no, I had it wrong. The Sharks went on a 10-0 run and they won. So the Dragons threw game 3. But if you watch the clip, the story was that the Dragons were up 100-96 with like 2 minutes left. They commit 5 straight turnovers in the final 2 minutes. The Sharks go on a 10-0 run and they beat the Dragons to win the series and move on. And they got accused of the Dragons got accused of throwing the game. And 2 things didn't check out with me. Number one, if you watch the clip, there was like a bad call on an over and back where the guy like started arguing with the ref. Like, why would you call it? Which I think if he's throwing the game, he'd be like, good call, ref. Wink, wink. We did what we were supposed to do. Number 2, I don't understand why they would throw the series unless like, so the implication here is that someone is paying them a ton of money. Like some sort of mobster is paying them to shave points. Is that it?
I don't really.
This is what they were motivated by.
Understood. Like none of the headlines that I've seen even comment on like if there's betting on this, because
exactly that's what I could see you throwing a game in the series if the series was to continue, but they threw the series to end their season. I didn't understand that part of it, and also the one thing that no one's really entertaining. What if these guys just suck? Yeah. Like, what if because some of the turnovers they were like, this is so egregious, this looks horrendous that they're very obviously cheating. And I said, is it that obvious or do they just suck ass? Yeah. Like it felt like
10-point runs with under 2 minutes have happened before.
Of course, yeah. So I watched the clip and I thought I don't know enough about Chinese basketball to know if I need to see what good Chinese basketball looks like, because to me this just looks like as a guy that's watched a lot of shitty Big Ten basketball, this looked very familiar. Yeah, just throwing the ball over the gym.
Rutgers, Minnesota, last minute and a half this year, 10 points.
Yeah, what was? But I was part of the reason it stood out to me is that no one seemed to entertain the idea that it couldn't be, like, everyone was speaking from a place that, like, there was no like we're gonna investigate this and see what happened. They were speaking from a place of certainty immediately that this is disgraceful. We can't believe they did this. This is so obvious. I'm talking about not the people on Twitter. I'm talking about the actual league. Like Yao Ming was reached for comment. His quote was like, this is a disgrace.
I think it may be disgraceful to watch, but it's not like there's nothing in the clip that I just watched that expresses any sort of evident, like, here's the ball, you score with it, or like guys stepping off.
And my question is, would that be the worst feeling ever if you were a basketball player and you shit down your leg to lose a series in a winner go home game? And then you were so bad that everyone accused you. Not only accused you, but like it wasn't just fans accusing you. It was the league itself, and the spokesman for the league immediately said this was disgraceful and you were very obviously cheating the game.
It's certainly a good cop-out where you're like, yeah, I'm actually not that bad. So you see, it was this whole other thing going on.
What if that was Rutgers? I wonder how that would feel. Yeah, as a Rutgers fan, if everyone was accusing you guys of shaving points and cheating game and all that sort of thing, I feel like that makes it worse. That doesn't make it better.
Yeah, I just turned my phone off at that point. Like, I imagine Ben Simmons has to just be deleting his Twitter app off his phone because the number of memes about this that it's like, well, guess Ben Simmons is going to have to play for the Guangdong Tigers instead next year. Like, there's so many Ben Simmons jokes in the comments of this because Shanghai Sharks is like the most known team from this league.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If we're going to start a precedent of punishing basketball teams for not giving it their all, where the NBA is in trouble. Yeah, you know, I think the NBA is,
get the Mavericks out of there.
Yeah. Today's show is brought to you by the Barstool Sportsbook, the one and only sportsbook of this show and Barstool Sports. The Barstool Sportsbook is made for you, the loyal fans and listeners, and is the only place to find exclusive picks and parlays from Big Cat, El Prez, and the rest of your favorite Barstool personalities. Follow or fade us. It's up to you. Now offering a $1,000 bonus for new players. If your first bet loses, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So download and create an account today. Use code Titus to unlock your $1,000 bonus. The Barstool Sportsbook lets you bet however you like with daily odds boost, live in-game wagering, move the line and teaser bets, and Parlay Plus for bigger payouts. iCasino is also available in select states with table games and slots. If you love the Mark Titus Show, you got to get the Barstool Sportsbook. So download and create an account today, and be sure to use code Titus to unlock your $1,000 bonus. That's the Barstool Sportsbook. Code Titus. Terms apply. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Any shout-outs before we go?
You want to show your shirt off?
Oh yeah, dude. I'm wearing a Wake Up Mincy. One of how many of these were made? Less than 20? Are we over 20 now?
I think since the Dave tweet, we might have gone over like around the 30 number, but pre-Dave. I don't know if you were pre or post-Dave.
I was pre-Dave. So I was one of the 17.
Yeah, 17.
One of 18. I was one of the first 17 to buy a Wake Up Mincy shirt. I bought this full price, by the way. I was using no employee discounts. No, I was not looking for handouts. I was happy to support Mincy, even though I don't watch the show live. That's the only problem. That's we got to figure out how to get this. I think another idea I had, if Mincy doesn't want to cater to the West Coast audience, which is a little hurtful, but again, I don't want to have such a big ego that I think he should change the whole show just for me. I do think there are a great number of people out here that I've told about the show, and they watch it on YouTube after we're up and around and everything, like hours after it's aired. If he doesn't want to change it for me and move the show to 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern, like I think he should. My other idea was to just do like SportsCenter used to do back in the day, where they just run it on a loop, like every show. You know, you could watch it at whatever time. You just watch it over and over and over for like a large block. I think he should do another edition of Wake Up Mincy for the West Coast. I think he should do it live for the East Coast people, wait a few hours, do another live edition for the West Coast people. I don't know. We might be too early in the development of the show for that, but that is my pitch to him. I think, like, as we get this thing really off the ground, I think that is a genius idea, because he's leaving. I mean, half the country's right there waiting for Mincy to tap into it. You know,
that's what Saturday Night Live does, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do it live and then they run it back again and they do it live again. That's what's. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, but it's a lot to ask, and I'm proud of him for where he's at right now. I've been loving the guests. Nikki Klicky was great on there today. I was loving that. So there were some I would love to. I don't want to tell him how to book the show. I would love to come on at some point, right. But it's just simply too early for me. So I think if he does a second show live for West Coast people. Yeah. I would love to be his first West Coast guest, and I want to bring. He talks about bringing it to the people, right? That's his whole thing. Yeah, he wants to bring it to the people. Like, I feel like I don't know. I haven't checked the numbers, but I think Los Angeles is a pretty big city. I think the West Coast. There are a lot of people out here on the West Coast, and I would like to do my part in helping Mincy bring it to the people out here. Yeah. So I don't know. That's just my idea. I think we should do a second show live, a couple hours after he does the first one, and if he wants, I'll be his first guest, and I'll help bring it to the West Coast. So yeah, there's my pitch.
Maybe we mix in a Saturday matinee or Sunday afternoon episode or something.
That's a great brunch with Mincy. Right. You know, Sunday brunch. Wake Up Mincy, but it's Sunday brunch, and we're having mimosas and. Yeah.
When's the next one? Do you know when the next time you're in New York is?
I'm coming for the dozen tournament.
June or no, May.
May is at the end of May. We're taping that.
So presumably Mincy will be in that, and then I know he's doing one or two Wake Up Mincy's from the New York office next week around the NFL draft show. So maybe he tests out how guests work for that, and then around dozen time, maybe you'll get the call up.
Yeah, I don't want to beg for it. I want it to just kind of happen naturally. Right, that's the other thing. It's like, I don't want the pity. I'm happy to do my part. I'm here to serve. I'm happy to do my part for Mincy, whatever he needs from me. But yeah, when he gives me the okay and gives me the head nod and says push the button, I will gladly bring it to the people out here on the West Coast for you, Mincy. I will. Just let me know. Let me know when you're ready. I had two more things. Dale Bonner I saw committed to Ohio State. We got a transfer that just committed right before we started recording the show, TJ, and Bronny to Ohio State's dead. It's officially done.
I heard, yes.
No. It's officially done. We're out of spots. We just don't have the. I guess we have to kick guys off now.
We got one too. We got a transfer. Look at us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Noah Fernandez from UMass, stud.
There you go. I saw the Bonner to Ohio State, and I thought this is like too. It felt like someone at Ohio State like was submitting an NBA draft card, and they had to write down your pick on the card and then give it to the commissioner, and they had bad handwriting. They read it wrong, and like someone wrote Bronny. And it said Bonner instead. They're like Bonner to Ohio State. And that was the announcement. He's a good player. I'm excited. He's an Ohio kid too, and he'll have some pride playing for the Buckeyes and all that. But I was hoping for another hometown kid.
The kid from Akron.
LeBron James Jr. The kid from Los Angeles, California. I was hoping for him to play for his hometown team of Columbus, Ohio. But yeah, Bronny's officially dead. So shout out to all of you who are following along as I was with the LeBron James Jr. recruitment to this point in hopes that he would play for his Buckeyes, but it's not happening. And the last thing was I saw that trailer for the new Zelda game. I don't know if you're into this shit, but
I am, but I didn't see it.
Dude, I didn't even understand it, and I was like, I need this game now. So I'm not a big gamer. I bought a Nintendo Switch specifically because the Switch games there seem to be a little more. They're kids games basically.
Yeah.
And I played Skyrim one time with the headset on. My buddy let me borrow his like VR thing to test it out. This was years ago. I was playing Skyrim on it. And I unknowingly played for like 12 hours before I realized what was going on. And I was like, man, I'm kind of hungry. I have to pee or something. I took the thing off, and it was like 3 a.m. And at that point, I got rid of my PlayStation. I got rid of the idea of ever owning an Xbox. And I bought a Switch because I was like, Mario games are more my speed. Like, you could just play them half-heartedly, whatever. And then I started playing that Zelda game, and the last Zelda game was incredible.
Yeah.
And I guess like I saw the trailer, and it made me think to ask you how much of a gamer you are, because I'm fired up about.
I would consider myself one of the larger gamers at the company. I have a very overly extravagant gaming PC set up in my apartment with
no shit
light up keyboard and 3 monitors. And
you play on a computer?
Yeah, I play on controller for the most part.
That's legit.
Yeah. But I will self admit that I have less time to play video games than I once did. So now
you started producing this show. Is that what you're saying?
I think I'm slowly moving into my Mario games are more my speed phase.
Yeah.
Or it's like I like a game that I could turn my brain off and play, rather than like I like the Call of Duty games, but they've sucked for the last like few years. I like Overwatch and Valorant and that sort of game type. But
I like games where I can only press 2 buttons at the same time. If I need to be pressing more than that, like I need to press direction. I need to make my guy move one direction, and I need to push one button to make him do an action. And if there's more than that going on, like if like that's why Call of Duty became too complicated, because you had to like spin around and also like make sure you're holding this button to then like load the bullets as to then like I don't know. And I found myself like trying to hit like 4 buttons at once. Yeah. I used to play a lot of FIFA too, and some of the tricks you'd have to do as it got more elaborate, you're pushing way too many buttons. And I guess that's part of getting old, is just you just lose that.
Yeah.
You start staring at the controller like, where the fuck is that button that I'm supposed to...
Also, all the new sports games, you have to put like hundreds of hours of time or hundreds of dollars into like the online modes in order to be any semblance of good at them. Like my favorite games always will be like the mid-2000s, like super colorful, like action sports games. Like my favorite game of all time is a snowboarding game called SSX Tricky that was on the PlayStation 2. I have a PlayStation tattoo.
No shit? Dude, I didn't know all this. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, big time.
Well, there we go. All right. Well, the new Zelda game, I watched the trailer, and I I understood nothing about like the gameplay. Like I took nothing away of like, oh, this is gonna be fun to do this with the game. I was just like, that looks fucking sick. I can't wait to buy that. I can't wait to just. I have to 100% all those games too.
Yeah,
I have that. So like when I buy, that's why I turned my back on PlayStation, because I'm a completionist. I want 100% all the games, and if I get Red Dead Redemption or whatever, I don't even know how elaborate that game is, but in my head, that thing would probably take months and months and months to 100%. And I don't even want to go down that road. So I play like Mario Kart, and I try to win the gold cup. Yeah. That's a little more, it's a little easier for me. Or I try to save the princess. That's a little easier for me, but yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to game, dude. We'll have to get some Zelda sessions in.
Of course. Game reviews.
Game reviews when Zelda comes out. I think I'm seeing the Mario movie tomorrow too, by the way. I'm fired up about that. I love Mario so much. All right, that's the show. NHL playoff preview. Give me the Avs repeat. I know everyone's on the Bruins, but give me the Avs.
Rangers.
There you go. There's Rangers. There you go. All right, there's your NHL playoff preview. See you on Thursday. Enjoy the playoffs. Yeah, we'll be back on Thursday. See you guys.